Hello and welcome back to Too Sweet MTG and welcome to another Commander Deck Tech. In today's video, we're looking at our first card from Wilds of Eldraine, Rowan, Scion of War.
It is 1 black and a red for a 4/2 legendary creature human wizard with menace. It also has tap and spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life that you've lost this turn, activate only as a sorcery. This is going to be a fun one. Rowan has the potential to be a super strong commander. The reason for that is that any effect that reduces the cost of spells, especially in Commander, are generally very strong. When we combine Rowan with effects that let us pay life for free, you can quickly see how you can turn that life loss into mana. And remember that Rowan reduces the cost of all spells we cast after it. So if we pay 10 life, every spell after that, not just the first one that is black or red, will be reduced in cost by that amount. So, how are we going to weaponize that against our opponents? Well, first off, we're going to be playing a bunch of really strong X spells. These, in combination with that cost reduction of Rowan, will mean we can push the X number up to silly levels. A quick note before we jump in on how this video will work. We won't be giving a full deck list, but we'll be giving you all the categories that you need to build the deck and the number of cards in each category that you need to run. We'll then go over a bunch of options in each category so you can pick what works best for you, what works best for your budget, and really make the deck your own. And obviously, any card we mentioned will be down in the description below. First up, we'll be looking at ways of losing life so we can make Rowan reduce the cost of our spells. First up is one of the most broken cards of all time in Necropotence. This basically lets us pay life to draw cards at our end step. With this in play, not only will it let us pay as much life as we need to reduce the cost of our spells, but it'll also dig us to those big game-winning spells as well. In a similar vein, we also have Bolas' Citadel. This lets us play spells on the top of our library for free. All we have to do is pay life, which is exactly what we want to be doing anyway. We then have Doom Whisperer. This lets us pay 2 life as much as we want to surveil too. Perfect for getting our life total nice and low and digging us to our win conditions. Next we have Treasonous Ogre. This lets us pay 3 life as much as we want to generate a red mana. Having that extra mana will always be great, and the fact that it's red will mean we can help cast the colour pips in our spells as well. Swapping over to black mana now, and we have Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. This lets us turn any black pips in our spells into Phyrexian mana, meaning we can pay 2 life to help cast our spells with black pips. Fantastic at bringing down our life total, and the fact that Crick can grow nice and big, while also having lifelink, will be really helpful as well. In a similar vein, we have Defiler of Flesh and Defiler of Instinct. These let us do the same thing, but only for black and red permanent spells. Again, just really helpful at giving us some useful ways of bringing down our life total, while also helping us cast our spells. To help with some fixing, we have Blood Celebrant. For a black and importantly, pay a life, we can add 1 mana of any colour to our pool. On top of that, you can also just make black mana with it, meaning that you can put that back into the Blood Celebrant to lose as much life as you want on the spot. We have other similar effects with Immolating Souleater, Deepwood Ghoul, Mischievous Poltergeist, Unspeakable Symbol, Wall of Blood, and Souldrinker. These are all great budget ways of bringing down your life total as much as you want in a turn. Absolutely perfect in this deck for getting that life loss that we need to allow Rowan to tap for a massive mana cost reduction on all our subsequent spells. Then finally we have Heartless Hidetsugu. Not only does this half our life total, but it also does it to all of our opponents as well, meaning they are all the easier to take out of the game with a big X spell. Talking of, let's go over some awesomely big spells that'll help us win the game. First up we have Exsanguinate and Torment of Hailfire. These are just fantastic cards that when you have an obscene amount of mana are perfect to dump into. Because these importantly drain out each opponent, these 2 cards will be some of the most consistent ways for us to win a game of Magic. We then have Crackle with Power, another fantastic mana sink that can dome each opponent straight in the life total. You then have some classic Fireball effects. With the OG, Fireball itself, you have Comet Storm, and then Jaya's Immolating Inferno. These importantly can still go to each of our opponents, but they don't scale as well as the others. They are, however, super cheap and are great for some backup redundancy to our other effects. We next have Storm King's Thunder. This can really help top up that damage if our life total is ever too low to pay 20 or 30 life. We can always put something like 10 life into Rowan, then copying something like Fireball a bunch of times with this will still be enough to win the game. Next up, we have some card draw. We have spells like Commune with Lava and Damnable Pact. With one of these in hand, we can use them to dig to our other big X spells, and because Rowan effects will last until end of turn, we'll be able to cast them as well. And I know it's not an X spell, but Peer into the Abyss certainly does the job that the deck needs. It causes us to lose a load of life and then draws half of our deck, perfect to find the next big spell for us to cast with a reduced cost. And then, because having a massive dragon on your side has never hurt anyone in a game of Commander, we have Shivan Devastator. fantastic at putting our opponents off of attacking us, and also great at getting into the red zone itself. We've mentioned some other card draw already, but let's go over the rest of the 8 to 10 bits that we need to keep the deck ticking over. First up, we have some great black bits of one-time card draw that also have us losing some life to help us dig to our busted spells or key pieces. You have great options like Night's Whisper, Sign in Blood, Read the Bones, or Rowan's Grim Search. Next up, we have Bob and Keen Duelist. Great cards that give us some extra card draw with a bit of lovely life loss turn after turn. We next have Infernal Sovereign, a big flying demon that replaces our draw step with whenever we play a land or cast any spell, draw a card and lose 1 life. This would be absolutely perfect to keep us digging through our deck on the key turns when we're trying to win. Then we have some enchantments that draw us cards as well. Spells like Call of the Ring, Black Market Connections, Phyrexian Arena, and then Greed are always solid options in any black deck, but even better in this one where the life loss is a bonus. One last card in this section is Vilis, Broker of Blood. This massive demon lets us pay life to remove some small creatures, but while we love that, the fact that this also has whenever we lose life we draw that many cards is going to be absolutely fantastic. We're going to be triggering this all the time and causing us to draw a bucket load of cards. Moving over to our ramp section, and like with most decks we need 8 to 10 bits here to keep the deck ticking over. First up, we have a bit of synergy with Mere Convert. Tapping and paying 2 life to make a mana of any colour is exactly what we're after. And then moving on, we have a solid base of mana rocks for us to choose from. Cards like Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Talisman of Indulgence, Ragdos Signet, and Felwar Stone are perfect for ramping out our commander and ramping us into some huge late game turns. Then lastly, we have Patriarch's Seal, a solid 3 mana rock that can untap Rowan, so we can activate its cost reduction ability twice in a turn. Next up is our interaction section. We'll want to start with at least 8 bits and then go up from there the more competitive that our regular playgroup is. First up, we have Font of Agonies. Whenever we pay life, which, as you may have seen is a large portion of this deck, we will get a blood counter. We can then pay 1 black and remove 4 of those counters to destroy a creature. This is honestly a fantastic bit of repeatable creature removal. It'll just keep mowing down creatures again and again. Then we have Fire Covenant. This lets us pay any amount of life, which again we absolutely love, to turn that into damage that we can split around our opponent's key creatures. After that we have some of the best bits of black removal out there. Cards like Infernal Grasp, Feed the Swarm, Dismember, and Snuff Out are all excellent removal spells that all have us losing life while dealing with a key threat. For board wipes, we obviously have to start with Toxic Deluge, a fantastic spell that lets us pay life to wipe out the board for just 3 mana. If we can cast our commander in the same turn as this and give it haste, then importantly we can immediately rebuild our board straight away. For more budget board wipes, we have the always great Blasphemous Act, absolutely phenomenal in any red deck. Then lastly, for our interaction, we have Imp's Mischief, a great way of mucking up our opponent's plans by turning a removal spell back on their own commander. Next up is a little bit of protection. This deck really revolves around the commander, so we need some ways of keeping it in play. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots will just be the best options out there. They'll protect Rowan from any targeted removal, but then importantly they also give it haste, which will be so good so we don't have to faff around waiting a turn. It means we can play Rowan, protect it and give it haste straight away so we can start tapping it and finding ways of losing life to take out our opponents. We then have Mithril Coat. This is a new fantastic card, and it's a great way of giving our commander indestructible at instant speed. Absolutely perfect for protecting Rowan against a board wipe or some targeted removal. Moving on, we have a couple of bits of Reanimation, which are just some great ways of bringing back some key creatures so they can just keep going again. First up, we have Reanimate. This is always just a really good spell that can get us a creature back from any graveyard into play for 1 black and some life. And obviously in this deck, the life loss is a bonus. Then we have Whip of Erebos. In any deck like this that is using a lot of life, giving all of our creatures lifelink will be insanely helpful. And then the fact they can also get back a key creature for a turn with haste is exactly what we're after. Okay, so we have the base of our deck. We've already gone over some X spells that'll do a good job of taking out some opponents, but let's go over some ways of boosting that all up a bit. One way of making the deck way more consistent is with tutors. This is sort of a combo deck, and cards like Gamble and Razaketh the Foul-Blooded are some cool, more interesting tutor options that you can run to help find your life loss effects or your big X spells. Next we have Archfiend of Despair. This stops your opponents gaining life, which could be really useful at keeping them in X-Spell range. Then the fact that it doubles up all life loss our opponents takes basically guarantees that 1 X-Spell will win us the game. We're flipping things around a bit now with Gary, Grey Merchant of Asphodel. This coming in and giving us some extra life while draining out our opponents will be great at buying us some extra time in case we've gone a bit too ham with the life loss. Next we have Magus of the Mirror. This is a sackhead to exchange life totals with an opponent. With all of our free life loss, this can really easily put an opponent to just 1 life. Or, if we're being super greedy, it lets us pay all of our life total and then all of our opponents as well for a absolutely madly huge fireball. In a similar vein, we have Repay in Kind. We can set our life total super low, and then Repay in Kind to knock a ton of life off our opponents so we can finish them off with a light breeze. We mentioned some untappers earlier, but having a couple more with Mage Right Stone and 1000 Year Elixir will allow us to just push the amount of discount up and up to obscene levels, while not meaning we have to always give up all of our life total. Okay, the last couple of cards that we're going to mention in this section are some awesome card draw spells. Things like Jeska's Will, Magus of the Wheel, Wheel of Misfortune, and Reforge the Soul are just going to be really good in the deck. The reason for that is we have so much mana reduction just baked into our commander, having more ways of churning through our deck just means we're more likely to find the big spells that we need. Rounding off the deck with some utility lands, we have a good couple of synergistic options that we can look at. First up is Hall of the Bandit Lord. It just does a little bit of everything that we want. It lets us pay some life, while also letting us cast our commander with haste so we can activate it straight away. Next we have some more lands that help out with some utility, while also helping out with the life loss. Barbarian Ring and Cabal Pit can ping us for 1 repeatedly, but then later in the game can take out an annoying creature. You then have War Room, which is just some fantastic additional card draw. We then finally have the Black Gate. It's going to be very easy for us not to be the player with the most life total in the game. Just making something big and scary unblockable against one of our opponents is just going to be really nice.
Right, thank you all very much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing. We are currently racing towards 100,000 subscribers. We only have 96,591 to go. So if you could subscribe, it would greatly help the channel out. But until next time, I will see you all soon. Goodbye.